this video I'll talk about how to begin an acrylic painting. When I'm looking at a complex scene like this, I personally like working from background to foreground. So I'm going to first come in and then create a paint wash in the background and then demonstrate how to begin adding value while keeping proportions on our stick figure here, or our mannequin. A few things to keep in mind when painting. Working from thin to thick is a good idea. So at the beginning, adding a considerable amount of water to your paint, not so much that it looks like watercolors, but so that you are diluting it a little bit and then letting that dry, building up your composition over multiple layers, so not just adding one layer and then feeling like you're done with the painting. And as you progress through adding more layers, the thicker and thicker paint you use. And I'll discuss specialty techniques such as highlighting and glazing in subsequent videos. So the first thing that I'm going to do is mix up a really kind of a dark purple color, dark blue rather. And I am going to strive to not use any colors that are just right out of the tubes, because we want to create visual interest and complexity, and we just use the colors that are presented to us, kind of gives away our method right away. We want to be a little bit more mysterious than that. Mix this up, and like I said, I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. Oops. Kind of creating a glaze, so to speak, and then I'm going to come in and block in these areas. I'm being careful to stay true to the proportions that I spent such a long time creating through my sighting and measuring. Using the edge of your brush depending on your area of unoccupied space or where the background shows through. That, however large that space is going to inform you as to what brush you're going to use. I'm using a pretty little one because, as you can see, I have some pretty small detailed areas. Now, with my first coat of paint, I'm not trying to create a masterpiece. I'm just trying to get started. My main goal is to keep the proportions, add relative values, or values that are approximate. So this color here isn't exactly the same as right here, but for now it's close enough, and I know that after I come in and add more layers, add more detail, it's going to look exactly how I want it to. But like I was saying, my main goal is to keep the proportions while covering up all of this white space. I like to work my painting, all of the objects in my painting, I like to work them up or develop them at the same time. So for example, I wouldn't, if I was going to demonstrate this whole thing, I wouldn't spend a long time on my figure here, my mannequin, without going in and doing the same thing to my paint can and to my book and to my frame. For this demo, I'm just going to stick around and do a couple of objects. But like I said, the first step is working from background to foreground, adding water to my paint to create a glaze. It spreads easier, it covers faster, and it gets us to where we need to be sooner, while accomplishing the same thing as if we did this with a heavier amount of paint with less water. I'll finish this up and then tune into my next video for creating midtones, highlights, and lowlights on an object, on a detailed object in the foreground while using the glazing method.